Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, and it is time for a preview of the 2020 US Open men's final between Dominic Thiem and Alexander Zverev. Both men looking for their first major title. Here's how they got here. Alexander Zverev really fighting hard throughout the tournament, going 4 sets in his first 3 rounds, and then against Borna, Coric and Pablo, Carreno, Busta in the quarter and the semis respectively, a clear pattern emerged, which was slow starts, tight, nervous starts, Zverev unable to play his game or deploy his weapons, but eventually he steadied the ship. He is the better player in both instances when he's at his best, and he was able to complete the comebacks against both players. For Dominic Thiem, it's been nothing short of a miraculous run to the final. He's dropped 1 set, only to Marin Cilic in round 3. The most impressive performance of all of these, the Felix Auger-Aliassime and Alex de Minaur wins aside, was the Daniil Medvedev win in the semifinal, where he played all the big points brilliantly and outdueled Medvedev at almost every single crucial juncture. Medvedev serving for the second set, serving for the third set, Thiem coming up with clutch breaks of serve, and then playing 2 tiebreaks where he was the less erratic player. He was the more reliable player. And Daniil Medvedev was the one who faltered in both of those tiebreaks. So really impressive from Dominic Thiem. Okay, so now they meet in the final. Thiem is a heavy favorite, but should he be? That is the question that I will try to answer here. So as always, I will tell you how Dominic Thiem can win. I will tell you how Alexander Zverev can win first, and then I will tell you who I believe will win this tennis match. All right, we'll start with Zverev. So I really believe first serve percentage to be a terribly overrated statistic, overvalued statistic in tennis. Why? Because let's say you only hit your first serve at 50%, but you win 80% of those points. And then let's say you protect your second serve well and win 60% of your second serve points. That's great. You're good. You're fine. You're not going to get broken with those kind of numbers, at least not very often. So why do we spend so much time thinking about first serve percentage when in reality, what matters is that you are winning points in tennis, not that you are getting your first serve in. If first serve percentage was that important a statistic, then everyone would just roll their first serve in. They don't do that, do they? The best players aren't rolling their first serve in the box, are they? So that is my opening rant. The reason I say this is because I think first serve percentage is really key in this particular match. I think it's undeniable that first serve percentage is a really big deal when it comes to Alexander Zverev and his ability to have success in this match, because I don't think there's really any doubt that he is going to have loads of trouble protecting his second serve. He's had loads of trouble protecting his second serve all tournament. In fact, he's only been over 50% in one match, which was against Adrian Mannarino. It's 50% on the dot in another. But in a lot of these matches, he's closer to like 40%. Against Brandon Nakashima, that is kind of what he needs to do. Against Brandon Nakashima, he made 75% of his first serves. That's how he's going to win this match. In that same match against Nakashima, Thiem won 34% of his second serves. That's absolutely brutal. But it didn't matter because he made 75% of his firsts. That's going to be the only way. He needs to make his first serves. There's no doubt about it. In fact, his serve needs to take over this match. He can bomb it. He's the tournament ace leader. He's been clocked at 140 miles per hour during this tournament, and that is going to be the weapon that needs to propel him to victory. Thiem has one of the best second serve returns in all of men's tennis. He stands on the back fence, but don't let that fool you. He is an aggressive returner of the second serve. He uses his heaviness and his power and he's able to take full swings at the ball on his second serve return and attack it. So I have no doubt that Zverev, has a high rate of double faults and has had trouble protecting his second serve against really everyone who he's faced so far leading up to the U.S. Open, will have even more trouble protecting his second serve against Dominic Thiem. If he makes 70 or more % of first serves, and he gets a lot of those free points, well, he can put pressure, hold serve, put pressure on the Dominic Thiem serve, and his return is good enough, and his defense, his movement, his consistency is good enough, and his counterpunching is good enough that he can possibly wait for the occasional loose games that Dominic Thiem tends to throw in. He can wait for those moments to get his break, and then he can protect his serve. Now, we have seen Zverev do, good things with his forehand and all of that, but I don't think there's any doubt that Dominic Thiem has the market advantage from the baseline. It needs to be Zverev winning the serve return dynamic. He needs to be getting the better of that, and the only way is that he serves a really high percentage of first serves and hits them 130 and above, which he has the ability to do. That's how he made the semifinal in Australia as well. He just served a ridiculously high percentage. So I think it's pretty simple on Zverev's end. I mean, that needs to be the shot that carries him. As for Dominic Thiem, how Dominic Thiem wins this match? Well, there's a couple things. First of all, if someone is not going to show up in this match, which would be really unfortunate, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But if someone is going to crumble under the nerves, under the big stage, under the moment, and not bring their best to Arthur Ashe Stadium Sunday afternoon, it's not going to be Dominic Thiem. He showed us that in the semifinal. It'll be Alexander Zverev if that happens. So that's part of the calculus here, is there's always a chance that someone doesn't play their game, doesn't really have it. And if that's the case, it's not going to be the Austrian, it'll be the German. So that's one thing. Second, I do think that there's a pretty clear edge for Dominic Thiem from the baseline. He is the better mover. He has a little bit more firepower of both sides, but really it's the forehand. It's the forehand, which is equal or better than any other ground stroke in men's tennis. It is the real deal. It is a problem on the court. And Zverev is someone who really likes to hook his forehand cross court. And that's what I really want you to look at. I think everyone should be really focusing on that, is can Zverev take his forehand down the line and escape that cross-court forehand-to-forehand pattern where he's going to be overmatched. And, Sasha he's a lot more comfortable trading that forehand cross-court and really waiting for the short ball and generating the short ball by hitting his forehand big cross-court. And I think Dominic Thiem is going to kind of lean that way, and I think he's going to get the better of those exchanges. Backhand to backhand, once again, we can see the very same thing that we saw with Medvedev. Thiem might be a little bit less stable on the backhand side, but he has way more variety than Zverev, and he's doing a great job playing his backhand with plenty of margin and really picking his spots using perfect shot selection, and as a result, really not making the erratic errors. The key is that he doesn't go down the line with the backhand too early in the rally. That's where the errors come. That's where he misses and gives away free points. But I think he knows that he can't do that. And he's so comfortable defending if he needs to as well. So I see a clear advantage. And I got to be honest, not a lot of players can equal Dominic Thiem at the baseline right now. You have to get the better of the serve return dynamic. So let's talk about his return. I don't really see him blocking that many returns. It'll be interesting to see if he does that against the big serving Sasha Zverev. But Daniil Medvedev can hit some bombs. And what Thiem is doing for the most part is he's on the back fence. He's as far back as he can be. And he's just trying to take abbreviated swings at the ball. and it's working for the most part. The conditions are key. This is going to be a 4 p.m. start on the east coast of the United States. It's going to be low 70s, especially once it gets to the later sets. It'll start to drop. The temperatures will, and that's where we've really had slow conditions in this tournament. It's a very different story when it's a noon start, which Zverev has had plenty throughout the tournament. And if the sun was beating down on the court and it was perhaps 80 degrees instead of 70 degrees, or maybe even something more, the court would have played a lot more lively, and it would have really aided Zverev's first serve. But I really do think that Thiem might be able to do enough on the first serve return. For sure, he'll dominate on the second serve, in my opinion. I think that he'll get enough in play. His return is still sub-elite. It is not at the level of Rafael Nadal or Novak Djokovic, perhaps even a Roger Federer. It's not really at the level of some of the best returners in the game, like a Diego Schwartzman or a David Ferrer. It's not that kind of return. But I'm not sure it's a glaring weakness anymore. And he won 24% of his first serve points against Daniil Medvedev, which kind of suggests exactly what I'm saying, which is that his first serve return is serviceable. It's good enough to keep him in the match. It's not good enough to win him a match, but I do think that if Zverev serves, 65% first serve, I do think that Thiem will be efficient enough to carve out some breaks of serve. So that's essentially how Thiem wins the match. I think he's got a lot of big advantages in the all-court game, but it kind of comes down to the return and can the Zverev serve take over this match? So what do I see happening? I really do think that Dominic Thiem can win this in straight sets. And that's going to be my prediction, because I'd be shocked if Zverev comes away with this. To me, Thiem I kind of saw enough in that semifinal. Mentally, he's ready to do this. He's there. He's made it. He's gone through all of the learning processes, and he has put in so much work that has given him such a deep-rooted belief in his abilities that I have very little doubt that he is going to bring his best tennis to the court. I have very little doubt that he's going to play the big points like a champion, which he hadn't always done. In Australia this year against Novak, he did falter in some of the big moments. He did miss backhands down the line, for example. And it looks like he is past that at this point, and he's not facing a stiff competition. So what it really comes down to is if Zverev brings his A game, I think Thiem is still probably better. But that's even an if. That's even an if that I'm not so sure about. If Thiem goes up in this match after losing the lead that he did in Australia, I don't think that there will be any letting up. So Zverev needs to get off to a good start, which he hasn't been able to do in this tournament. And I think that there's a huge gap in the level of confidence between Thiem and Zverev on a consistent basis throughout a 5-set match. And I even think that there's a gap in ability. We will see right now the importance of having a consistent, rock-solid forehand that doesn't go through peaks and valleys. And we will see the importance of a kick serve, of a solid second serve that an elite player like Dominic Thiem is able to protect. There is such a gap in those areas. And where is Zverev making up that gap? He's only making up that gap in one area, which is the first serve. And for that to really take over the match, Zverev is going to need to make about 75% of first serves. That's a tough ask. That's a tall order. Dominic Thiem in 3 or 4 sets is the pick. Enjoy the tennis, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.